All Hallows Eve, the evening all your nightmares come to life. All the creatures of the night come out to play. It's time to pay tribute to this terrifying month. So join us as we celebrate a sinister season. This is the Venom month of horrors. The Reboot.
In 1978, John Carpenter and Deborah Hill brought us the classic Halloween, the story of psychotic killer Michael Myers escaping a mental asylum to track down his sister Jamie Lee Curtis and butchering all of her friends in the process. It still remains a classic, one of the best horrors in history, and it truly set the standards for the entire genre. 3 years later, we then got the inevitable sequel, Halloween 2. Although not as good, it does have some unappreciated thrilling moments, Michael closing in on Curtis in hospital, taking the staff out one by one until Donald Pleasant sends them both to oblivion. A year later, we then got Halloween 3, Season of the Witch. With Myers supposedly dead, Carpenter decided he and Deborah Hill wanted to take the franchise in a completely different direction. Each year they planned on releasing a different scary story based on Halloween, an anthology similar to The Twilight Zone. This idea never actually took off due to this film's poor reception, so to this day it remains the only Halloween film without Michael Myers. And I know what you're thinking. Anytime anybody says anything negative about Halloween 3, people are like, you just don't like it because Michael Myers isn't in it. First of all, there is a valid complaint. Would you make a James Bond movie without 007?
No.
Secondly, no. I think the movie alone sucks, whether Michael's in it or not. And I'll explain why. The film has gained quite a big cult following over the years, and honestly that's great, but I personally think it's one of the worst sequels ever made. As a sequel, it sucks. As a standalone film, it sucks. As anything, it sucks. I mean, this is a film that is so bad, the original writer Nigel Neal produced a screenplay for it, and he didn't want it to be horror just for the sake of horror, so this idea was completely rejected because they wanted more gore and violence. The film is so bad, Nigel actually sued the producers over this, demanding they remove his name from any credit of the film. This is a film so bad, Roger Ebert, who liked Elephant, put this on his most hated movies list, and along with Jim Harper slated it for making absolutely no sense and not being scary. This is a movie so bad, its own executive producer, Irwin Yablans, hated the entire concept during production, but admitted he at least got a nice fat check for his troubles. I think the audience deserve one just for sitting through it.
Nice try.
In fact, and I am not making this up, it's often believed that this movie was only made because film critic Rex Reed panned Halloween 2 and claimed that he would retire if they made a third one. This is a film that was only made to piss off and retire a movie critic. If that doesn't sell you, I don't know what will. This is Halloween 3, Season of the Witch. So we open with the most boring opening titles in the history of cinema. Riveting stuff, isn't it, ladies and gentlemen? Aren't you just pissing your pants in fear?
A true genius.
So we begin with the first actor already trying to run away from the production until he spots someone approaching. Oh hey, it's Michael Myers! Nope, false alarm. I also have to quickly bring up, this has the worst musical score I have ever heard. Seriously, throughout the entire film, it's like the composer has ADHD or something, and for this scene in particular, it's like he's fallen asleep on the impact sound effect. And it lasts for ages too. Try listening to this crap for a long period of time and you'll be begging for the credits just as much.
Yes, very much.
So a guy in a suit shows up and attacks him, and while he chokes the old timer, the old guy somehow has the strength to pull this rock out whilst being strangled on the ground. So after we hear more tumour-inducing music, we find out that Stonehenge has gone missing from England. And it's somehow been transported to California without anybody noticing. Before we get to, unfortunately, the most famous part of this godforsaken film, the jingle. Yeah, this jingle gets stuck inside your head for months and it plays constantly throughout the entire movie too. It's annoying, it's crappy, it's awful, and yet it's catchier than Ebola.
4 days to Halloween, Halloween, Halloween. 4 days to Halloween,
One more film till Michael's back, Michael's back, Michael's back. One more film till Michael's back, this film is shit.
So the old guy shows up at this gas station, and for some reason the composer just really likes this pew sound effect because he uses it anytime anything happens in the entire movie. Anyway, we meet our main character, Tom Atkins. Don't bother trying to remember his character's name, it's about as memorable as the rest of this film. By the way, that's his ex-wife, and she's played by Nancy Loomis. Yeah, Annie from the first movie, because apparently that makes it more of a Halloween film.
Atkins, you should have not done this, not done this, not done this. Atkins, you should have not done this, stick to lethal weapon.
So we cut to a hospital, because Lord knows we didn't spend enough time there during the second film, where Atkins is a doctor. The gas station black guy shows up and is literally just there to be the token black dude.
He just walked up out of the rain. I swear to God, that's all there was to it.
And it's like he's only there for one line of dialogue and they just can't get rid of him off the set. He milks this cameo for as long as possible.
Hey, can I leave now?
Sure, I don't see why not. Thanks a lot for bringing him. Appreciate
Well, thank you, Doc. I was always taught that when somebody needs help, you help them.
No, you won't, darling, because your part's over. Yeah, it's the end of your scene. Back to the doll for you, love. 5 lines, thank you, and good night.
So one of the suit guys tracks down the old fella and pokes his eyes out. Yep, this is the villain. Poking eyes out. In a horror movie. You know, John Carpenter, you used to know what was scary. And this, it isn't. I'm sorry to break it to you, but it isn't. Also, where the hell is security?
They're coming.
So the nurse is the one who discovers him and she freaks out but doesn't get killed for some reason. She just kind of stands around screaming for ages before Atkins even does anything, and despite taking a week to get there, he still manages to somehow get a small glimpse of the suit guy leaving. But then as soon as he follows out the door, he's suddenly miles ahead. But at least we do get one of the only cool scenes in the entire movie. So Atkins asks his colleague to look further into the exploding car to find more information about the man. He then heads to a bar to get drunk. Can't blame him. Before... Oh, look, it's Michael Myers. See, it is a Halloween film. It's Michael Myers, look.
Brought to you by...
Oh my god, we're fucking bored, fucking bored, fucking bored. Oh my god, we're fucking bored, please just scare us.
So the old dude's daughter shows up and starts chatting with Atkins before visiting her dad's old store. They begin to bond, but am I seriously the only one who's going to question the huge ass age difference here? Not that there's anything wrong with age gaps in relationships, it gets a lot weirder later, which they acknowledge, and it makes it even creepier.
I saw something that night. I don't know, your father came into the hospital. I thought he was crazy, out of his mind. He's hanging onto a Halloween mask. He wouldn't let it go. And what he said was, they're gonna kill us all. And in a little while, he was dead. And I don't know what the hell is going on.
Yeah, neither do we. Atkins even rings his ex and refuses to see his kid so he can help his new girl find out what happened to her dad. Yeah, apparently he's a cop now.
Linda, take it easy. I'll be back to take them trick-or-treating, I promise. I'll call... No, I can't remember the name of the hotel. I'll call you Monday.
Monday? Well, that's weird because your own caption says that it's Friday, which means Halloween would be Sunday. 2 days. Monday, okay, take them trick-or-treating after Halloween if you want. Brilliant filmmaking.
We don't decide these things, you know.
So Atkins and Ho head to the quiet little town of Santa Mira, and if you think that sounds familiar, it's because it's the exact same fictitious town of the invasion of the Body Snatchers. Creative. And this is where those annoying silver shamrock masks are made. They're the bastards who are gonna ruin this franchise.
You happen to know, is there a vacancy here in this motel? My wife and I need a place to stay.
Your wife? I thought it was your granddaughter. But we don't nearly have enough characters yet, so Atkins bumps into a really annoying family. Seriously, tell me you can tolerate these assholes.
Hey, buddy cup for San Diego. This is my wife, Betty.
Pleased to meet you.
And right there's little buddy.
Is it busted?
No.
Don't you dare go in the street!
I want them to die.
What I mean is, if you'd feel more comfortable, I could sleep in the car. Be better on this floor anyway.
Where do you want to sleep, Dr. Chalice?
Well, I may bust my hip, and I know you've got homework to do, but I think we can snuggle up anyway.
It's 6 o'clock. It's 6 o'clock. Curfew. Curfew.
It's a cameo. A cameo.
Yep, this voice is Jamie Lee Curtis. You know, for a film that wants to divert you from the Michael Myers part of the series, it sure does try its best to remind you of it a lot.
We've had a lot of practice.
So despite the curfew being announced just minutes earlier, Atkins was still somehow able to purchase some booze from the store before bumping into a homeless guy. He claims that the famous Cochran, who owns the Silver Shamrock Company, brought all of his factory workers in from the outside.
Hey, Cochran! Fuck you! Ooh, shh, easy. It's all right, it don't matter to me. He's probably listening.
So surely that's more of a reason to shh?
If he is, I got one thing to say. It's the last Halloween for that lousy factory of his.
Does he have some kind of death wish?
This year, I'm gonna get me about a case and a half of Molotov cocktails. Burn that son of a bitch right down.
Definitely a death wish.
Last Halloween for them.
Just because you burn down his factory, it doesn't mean that he can't celebrate Halloween anymore, dude. Oh look, what a surprise, they were listening and are really angry. This doesn't even make sense. He knew they could hear, he knew how dangerous they were, and he said it anyway. There's no sense. He was only here to die. And he does. They rip his head off with absolute ease, which is bizarre considering how difficult they found it to kill the guy at the start. Their powers are incredibly inconsistent.
That doesn't make any sense.
Anyway, Atkins' girlfriend bumps into Atkins' wife. No, seriously, this was his wife at the time in real life. Notice how she actually looks of legal age for him? Meanwhile, Atkins rings back his colleague for an update, but she has no leads before... Let me show you how we did it during the war. This scene is actually so cringy. They even slow-mo and focus on him sucking her nipple. It's so weird, and you know why? Because this was one of the first scenes that they actually filmed. Literally, Tom Atkins and Stacey Nelkin didn't even get a chance to get comfortable around each other before filming this, so the awkward tension really does show. In fact, hang on, where did she get this lingerie from? Did she pack this just in case? I mean, they weren't even romantically involved when they began this trip, and we never see her actually going out to buy it. Did she plan on shagging him the entire time?
You two old dude is fucking gross, fucking gross, fucking gross. You two old dude is fucking gross. Go and get an old bitch.
Wait a minute. How old are you?
Relax. I'm older than I look.
Oh, that's alright, then don't need to tell me. Who would risk it like that? Who'd have sex with someone when they don't even know their age and they won't even tell them? And why does he ask her age after they've already done stuff? They have sex and then afterwards, oh, by the way, you're 18, right? Yeah, that will hold up in court.
Liar.
Meanwhile, Atkins' wife discovers an electric chip in the back of one of the masks before being tasered to hell. The makeup is actually really impressive, but it's just not scary. Weren't Halloween films supposed to be scary? It's about masks, for crying out loud. But now, we are about to be introduced to the famous Mr. Cochran. Now, he has been hyped up for this movie for over 40 minutes, so it must be this iconic character, this groundbreaking performance, this character that will be remembered for decades to come. And he's just an old man. A very boring, uninteresting, old man. Who knows, maybe she'll shag him next.
Who cares?
So Atkins calls back his colleague who believes that someone's tampered with the evidence because there's no traces of a body even being in the car to begin with. He also asks her to check out Cochran before we see the call is being traced. Nope, still not scary.
These people lost an order. Did you load this one?
Sure did. Last week, a man in an old green station wagon.
Oh, that's awesome. Can't wait to see it later and realise that it's actually blue.
This thing's really got you.
So Atkins and his girl head to the factory for a tour and look at this. It looks more like the face from the witches. But at least nothing else can make the scene any more intolerable.
Well, hey, how you doing?
Brilliant.
You can't win.
So this guy claims that Cochran invented sticky toilet paper and all sorts of pranks because, yeah, doesn't he just look like the perfect prankster?
Those masks haven't been through final processing. This one is.
Whoa.
There you are.
Wonderful. What final process?
Don't ask me.
Gee, that's subtle. I mean, you couldn't have him just say that. Have the characters not acknowledge it. Just leave it for the audience to question it. No, that would be too subtle. No, you really had to have them actually bring it out and actually bring their attention to it. You know, screw having people think for themselves, but at least it's not going to get any more forced than that.
Hey, Mr. Cochran, just what is the final process?
Sure, it's just a little bit of this and a little bit of that.
Thank you for that. Yeah, you think your audience are complete morons, so you had to hammer it home and bring it to our attention twice.
I just saw a couple of men who looked strangely familiar. And there's another one. They look an awful lot like the man who killed your father.
How the hell does he know? He didn't catch up with him in time, and then when he did, he was only what? He only saw the back of his head for like 2 seconds, and then when he got outside, he was miles away in a car. I mean, I guess the nurse could have described him to him, but we never saw that. And if it happened off screen, he seems so confident here that he saw it for himself.
Operator, this is an emergency. I want to...
Sorry, we cannot complete your call as dialed. Please hang up and check.
Jamie Lee, what are you doing? What are you doing? What are you doing? Jamie Lee, what are you doing? H2O be better.
So Atkins pops out and upon returning finds his girl missing. Well, you can't really find someone missing, but before the alien robot things show up, and this is where the musical score really gets on my tits. Listen to this crap. It doesn't even fit the scene. It makes no sense and is completely unnecessary.
Ellie! Ellie!
Also, I love how this one robot messes up the choreography and steps to the side instead. Smooth programming.
No way.
So he gets cornered but manages to escape out the window and ducks into a phone booth. Since the entire town is monitored by cameras with all the phones being tagged, wouldn't they know that he's in there? Oh, and also, guess what's still going on around this time?
Dial your operator for assistance.
So he breaks into the factory before coming across some old lady whose head falls off until he gets into a fight with a robot. And it's really, really boring. Why can't he just rip off his head? I mean, they're pretty much shown at this point that it requires no strength or effort. Oh well, who cares? He punches through their stomach and gets his fist covered in limeade. Wonderful.
This was a rare piece. German.
All he did was lightly shake it and his head fell off. I'd get a bloody refund, mate.
Being a medical man, you should find it quite interesting.
What? Death? What? And then we finally reach Halloween, over an hour in to reach the goddamn titular holiday. So they take Atkins to the robot headquarters because... there's no reason. Literally, every other character who finds out about Cochran or starts to get close, they kill like that. There is no reason to take him to the factory.
Stonehenge. We had a time getting it here. You wouldn't believe how we did it.
Well, tell us and we'll see. They never do. And he even shows him how they make the goddamn masks. Why would he reveal all of his secrets to him like this? Oh, and it also turns out the annoying family are there as well.
You know, I still can't figure out why they won't take my orders for next year. You know how I like to work ahead, and, well, they're just not interested at all.
Maybe they're not going to have Halloween next year.
Ha ha ha.
Did John Carpenter just forget how to write subtle dialogue? What the hell happened to you?
What the hell happened to me?
John Carpenter lost his mind, lost his mind, lost his mind. John Carpenter lost his mind, he is just insane.
So the commercial plays while their son's mask takes over and knocks him out. For some reason his mum starts laughing at him. Bitch. And then her faint is horrendously bad, followed with... This is the big scare of the movie, ladies and gentlemen. Seriously. Flies and snakes coming out of a mask. I've seen episodes of Peppa Pig more frightening.
Grandpa Pig's chocolate egg hunt has begun.
Have you got time for a cup of tea, Grandpa Pig?
What the hell is up with Atkins' reaction? So lame. Why am I in this? So lame.
Holy shit, that fucking sucked, fucking sucked, fucking sucked. Holy shit, that fucking sucks. This movie just blows.
So we get a montage of kids across America, all buying masks, despite the different time zones, so therefore not everyone would be celebrating Halloween and trick-or-treating at the same time, but who cares? Meanwhile, Atkins' colleague finally finds a lead, but can't manage to reach him until we do get this really creepy shot of the robot in the background sneaking up.
I'm in an awful sequel.
And then he drills her face. Why not just rip off her head? Seems a lot easier. I guess this is a bit cooler. You know the drill.
Why, Cochran? Why? Do I need a reason?
Yes! Yes, you do! This isn't a Michael Myers character who's very much inhuman and evil, a psychopathic serial killer who's completely snapped. This is just a guy who interacts with people and has just decided to slaughter the entire country for literally no reason.
Mr. Cupfer was right, you know. I do love a good joke, and this is the best ever. A joke on the children.
He's murdering them all for a prank. What?
Sacrifices are part of our world. Our craft. Witchcraft.
Yeah, except it's cool Season of the Witch, but there's not a single witch in the entire movie anywhere. This was apparently Deborah Hill's input on the movie, but hey, she also came up with...
Well, kiddo, I thought you outgrew superstition.
So she's clearly just an idiot. And if you had any seriousness left for this movie in the first place, this is now completely eradicated when Cochran puts this monstrosity on him. Come on, how can you take this seriously? And then he's literally forced to watch the first movie. You will watch what good cinema looks like.
Thank you.
Seriously, he kicks frantically at the TV and this just looks hilarious. And when he finally kicks it in, nobody notices. The amount of staff and cameras and not one single goddamn robot spots this. He even escapes through a vent, but that's only after somehow, while still being restricted to a chair, managing to throw the mask up and over the camera in one try. No.
I have to get rid of the mask. The silver shamrock. No. Santa Mira, when they killed Buddy Cupfer, his whole family. No, I'm not drunk.
No, I swear, someone actually got paid to write this.
You have to get rid of the mask. Just... Linda, let's...
What jealous person would act out by asking their ex to get rid of their kids' Halloween masks?
You're jealous!
So he saves his girl and they make a run for it. How nobody spots this moving shelf is beyond me. Genius robot she got working there. Then Atkins sneaks in to push these buttons that he somehow knows to press in a specific order, which plays the commercial. So, did he just air the commercial? Why? And how did he know what to press? And they don't even have masks on, so how does it affect them? In fact, why doesn't it affect them? What's going on? And when he discovers them, Cochran doesn't even speak, and it just looks silly. Halloween is come. And then they throw those chip coin things down to kill them somehow. So what was the point of the commercial? I have no idea what's going on.
What's going on?
I don't know.
So then the film inspires Superman 3 with the computers joining forces with Stonehenge or something to bless Cochran or something to blow up the whole factory. Or something. Meanwhile, the heroes escape before it's revealed that she too is a robot. What? How? I mean, can they turn people into robots? Because that's not been established whatsoever. I thought they just kill people. Has she been a robot the whole time? Was her dad a robot at the start? In fact, if she was a robot the whole time, didn't he realise when they had sex? And if they turned her into a robot, why did they turn her? Why did they just not kill her? In fact, if she's a robot, why did they clearly show her helping Atkins kill the other robots? Who cares? Decapitation.
Hey, Wanda, what do you think about a little head, huh?
Your phone. Where's it's life and death?
Awful acting with a tremendously cliche line. Fantastic combination.
If it goes out, it means the death of millions of people, everyone watching. Don't you understand that?
But You put it on. Didn't you?
Well, say it's a bomb, then say whatever you want. Say whatever you like, just get it off the air.
He's actually talking about this movie. So he screams for them to turn it off, and amazingly they oblige and listen to some crazy guy on the phone turning it off. But it's a fake out as the other stations continue playing it as he yells down the phone, and fade to black. And that is it. Now originally the credits were going to play as we hear the sounds of children dying, but Carpenter changed it because he wanted to leave it open to interpretation. Did they actually survive or not? Well, there was no way of stopping it, so no, they wouldn't have survived. It means that ending's completely pointless and makes no sense. Just like the rest of the film.
You know what I mean?
My god, there's no motivations for the villain. The main characters are bland and uninteresting. It's not scary. It has a couple of cool kills, but the score is a new kind of awful, and it's just a boring snooze fest. And the thing is, it doesn't suck because Myers isn't in it, but the truth is, it didn't even need to be a Halloween film to begin with. The anthology idea could have worked, but it had nothing to do with the franchise, and therefore it could have been its own series entirely. There is no reason for this to be Halloween 3 aside from banking off of its name. And now that I think about it, we never even find out about her father. Yeah, the guy who dies at the start, we don't find out why they killed him, what he had to do with any of it. None of it's explained. Many people slated the whole premise, it's not just me. There are 4 time zones across the United States, so the Western Seaboard has 4 hours to get the fatal curse-inducing advertisement off the air.
Not a great plan.
The time zone issue is a lot of people's concerns. Due to all of the time zones, many children would have been in school or it would still be daylight and the commercial just wouldn't affect them. The plan was to also air them on all the networks at the same time. Why would anyone agree to air the same advert their competitors are also airing? None of it makes any sense, and Cochran wouldn't have gotten away with any of it.
I can't do that.
What's Cochran's plan? Kill the kids and replace them with robots? Why? It's a low-rent thriller from the first frame. This is one of those Identikit movies, assembled out of familiar parts from other, better movies. Halloween 3 manages the not easy feat of being anti-children, anti-capitalism, anti-television, and anti-Irish, all at the same time. Almost every time it starts to get to the point where we might actually become engrossed in the film, director Tommy Lee Wallace throws in something corny like, oh, a human decapitation scene that shows just how much the producers invested in latex. Seriously, could the special effects look a little more fake, please? I was just getting to the point where I could almost tell the robots from the real people. Making a real person look faker than Michael Jackson's nose blissfully confuses me all over again. A terrible third installment to an otherwise fairly decent series.